Hello, ladies and gents. Okay, let's begin without further delay. We are going to review what we did last time. We have here the vocabulary word and the sentences. We will go over this. Okay, let's review a little bit. Sentence: send somebody to jail. Send somebody to some sort of punishment. Spark: demonstration, condolences, impassively, rally, reconciliation, circumstances, appropriate, and X. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to the word reconciliation, and we are going to change it to the verb reconcile. Okay? And that'll, okay, good. So instead of using reconciliation, we do reconcile. All right, and we will be talking about these items later on. Okay, also to do some review, I want to push up my grades, and then the bad feelings between A and B pushed up. Okay, so there are two words. What are they? Well, what do you take to go upstairs? You take the word elevator. So the word elevate means to push up. You elevate their grades. And then let's say John and Mary, they have bad feelings, and their bad feelings keep on becoming worse and worse. It keeps on going up. So we're going to not use the word elevate, but we're going to use the word escalate, right? And of course, that's where we get the word elevator and escalator, okay? An operator is just a person who operates the telephone switches, okay? An operator, okay? Right, we talked about that. Good. The dog followed, he followed the owner's command, so he followed obediently. Okay, he followed obediently. Change it to the adjective just obedient. Okay, so John is not an obedient child. Okay, he is not an obedient child. He often gets in trouble, let's say. Okay, John cleaned his room very carefully from top to bottom. He cleaned this room thoroughly. Right? He cleaned it thoroughly. Okay? So the word is thoroughly. Thoroughly. Good. And you can also say something like, I checked the book thoroughly before I bought it, right? You want to make sure that there are no mistakes and there are no pages missing, so on and so forth. I have bought a book, quite an expensive one too, with pages missing. Can you believe that? The pages weren't missing, but the pages were blank. They had nothing on it. Okay, so I checked the book thoroughly before I bought it. All right, the air, the weather, etc. was very wet, and the flower is very wet. Two words that means wet. Describing air and weather, you have to use the word humid. Describing things that you can touch, you have to use the word moist. So a mobu, a rag, is moist, not humid. But the air, the weather, is humid, okay? So the differences between humid and moist. And we also talked about these other words, which we can review later on, okay? All right, good. So on a globe, the lines that go left and right, okay? In other words, they are this, and there's a word in English that means that which is this way, which is lateral, which means left and right, and therefore latitude is the lines going left and right. And then there is a word in English that means this, which is long. And that is why the lines that go up and down are called longitude. Easy peasy, okay? Because, everything has a reason. Well, not everything, but all right, good. Insects' bodies have 3 parts. 3 what? Segments. Segments. I'm going a little fast because I want to get to the meat of the story. Okay? In other words, they have a segmented body. And Asher, what is that? It is a parachute. Parachute. Okay, very good. We will go through this review later on. Okay? All right. Let's go on to today's, what we're going to do today. All right, today we are going to do a very short, article, but I think it's very important. Let's see how much we can get from it. We have the word pro. Pro actually means you are for something. So for example, if you like Trump, then you are pro-Trump, okay, right? If you like Biden, then you are pro-Biden, okay? Counter it's a verb actually. Counter is actually a verb. It means to fight against, go against, okay? So for example, we want to take the vaccine to counter COVID-19. Okay, a bill is a law that is introduced to a lawmaking body. For example, if you were to introduce a law for discussion, right, so that the people can talk about it in the 立法院, right? If you were to introduce some new law into the 立法院, in the 立法院 for discussion, that law would be a bill, okay? It has not been passed yet. A bill that has been passed is called an act, okay? All right, so debate. When you have a debate, when you debate something, you discuss it, okay? You discuss it usually quite thoroughly, okay? So maybe I'll just write that down right now because we just did that word. All right, very good. And revitalize. We will talk about this word as it is, how it is different from revive, okay? And they are related but different, okay? And because V means to live, so revitalize is to make strong again, okay? Not to make living again, that's revive, but to make strong, to make powerful again, okay? All right, let's read. I'm just going to read it. It's a short article, and I'll read it and then perhaps discuss it along the way, okay? U.S. House of Representatives considers pro-Taiwan bills to enact to counter, to go against China. So here are the definitions again. So U.S. House, the House means the House of Representatives. Okay, the 参议院 or the whatever, okay, whatever the Chinese is, it doesn't matter, okay. One of the two houses of the U.S. legislature, okay. We'll talk about that perhaps. So U.S. House of Representatives considers friendly to Taiwan bills enacts to counter, to go against China, okay. To counter, to go against China. This act is a bill, a law that has already been passed. Remember, a bill is a law that has been introduced for debate. It has not been passed, 还没通过. But an act is already a bill. It was a bill and it has been passed. Okay, it is already a 法条, a law. Okay, very good. So, a U.S. congressional committee this week added pro-Taiwan bills. Okay, to a legislative package aimed at countering China's growing global influence. All right, so in other words, these acts already exist in US law, and they are going to introduce more laws into those acts, okay? And now they have proposed the bills, right? Bill meaning it's not law yet, but it's just something that they want to discuss before it becomes law, okay? And they have to vote on it, of course, right? So here it is. The U.S. House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee, okay? And what is the Foreign Affairs Committee? The Foreign Affairs Committee is a special group dealing with foreign affairs, okay? So within the U.S. House of Representatives, they have a group of people, I don't know how many, 10, 20 people, that team together to deal with matters regarding other countries, foreign affairs, okay? So the U.S. House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee on Wednesday and Thursday met to discuss the Ensuring American Global Leadership and Engagement Act, the acronym, which is EAGLE Act, right? The government likes to do these kind of really, first they think about the words and see if it's, the first letters put together sounds good, and then they call it the EAGLE Act, right? Okay. All right. So making sure American, global, in the world leadership, the American leadership in the world, and American engagement in the world, okay, right? So this act is to make sure that America is strong again, okay? Continue. U.S. Representative Gregory Meeks, the committee chairman, introduced the act on May 25th to revitalize, to bring back to action and reassert U.S. leadership, investment, and engagement in the Indo-Pacific region, our region, and globally to counter China's growing ambitions. Okay, in other words, America wants to come into this area, this region of the earth, to assert and to revitalize its influence. Why? Because it wants to counter, right? It wants to go against China's influence. Okay? At the beginning of the review session, Meeks added substitute amendments to the package, including the Taiwan Diplomatic Review Act, the Taiwan Peace and Stability Act, and the Taiwan International Solidarity Act, according to a summary of the amended EAGLE Act. So, the chairman, Gregory Meeks, he added 3 acts, okay, to the bill, okay, that under discussion, if they are passed, they become, he introduced bills to add into these 3 acts that have already been passed, okay? So what are these 3 acts? I have colored them in different colors to show you what they are later when we talk about them. The Taiwan Diplomatic Review Act, that is going to get us in trouble, I think. And the Taiwan International Solidarity Act, that's also going to get us in trouble with China. Okay, I don't care. I'm just saying that China is going to have a reaction to these things. Okay, and we will talk about what these acts are. Okay, the word solidarity. Solidarity means support and partnership. So if I show you, I show you solidarity, that means I am on your side. Okay, that I stand with you. Okay. It talks about the Taiwan International Solidarity Act first. Okay, one of the clauses in the Taiwan International Solidarity Act states that the UN's recognition of the People's Republic of China did not address the issue of Taiwan representation at the UN, nor take a position on the relationship between Beijing and Taipei or Taiwan's sovereignty. Aha! So this is actually the first time the U.S. has ever openly said this. It says that, yes, back in, I guess, 1979, okay, the recognition of the People's Republic of China, I'm going to say, and you guys check me, I'm going to say 1978. Let's bring you back 1 year. Okay, right? That's when, I guess, PROC entered the UN. Check me, I'm not sure. Okay. The U.S., this law says that, when the UN recognized the People's Republic of China as a part of UN, it did not say anything. It did not address, it didn't talk about the issue of Taiwan representation at the UN. It didn't talk about, hey, just because we recognize China doesn't mean Taiwan is out of the UN. Number one. In other words, they didn't talk about it, meaning they didn't say it was okay, but neither did they say it was not okay. Another thing they didn't talk about was the position on the relationship between Beijing and Taipei or Taiwan's sovereignty. Okay, so in other words, the UN did not talk about whether Taiwan is its own nation or not. Perhaps I'll add the word sovereignty into this mix, because sovereignty is a word that you will hear a lot. It means independent. Okay, independence. Okay, not Taiwanese independence, but the independence of a country. Like you are your own country, like that, okay? All right, which I guess entails Taiwanese independence. All right, so that is the first thing that this bill addresses in the U.S. Senate, House of Representatives. It addresses the fact that the UN did not address the issues of Taiwanese sovereignty. It did not address the issue of Taiwanese representation at the UN. These two things are very important. It's going to stir up some Chinese anger. All right, let's continue. The Taiwan Diplomatic Review Act, introduced in May, would direct the U.S. Secretary of State to enter negotiations with the Taiwan Council for U.S. affairs to rename the Taipei Economic and Cultural Representative Office in Washington the Taiwan Representative Office. So anyway, of course, Taiwan doesn't have official relationships with the U.S., but we do have a sort of a administrative office in the U.S. We have, I think there's one in, I know there's one in New York, there's one in Washington, and I'm sure there must be one somewhere on the West Coast or other places. And of course, it is named Taipei Economic and Cultural Representative Office. See, there's nowhere in the name does it mention Taiwan. Well, this Review Act, this Diplomatic Review Act, okay, is going to look into the possibility of naming that office the Taiwan Representative Office. Ooh. This is a big one. All right. Other proposed legislation seeks to reiterate the U.S. commitment to Taiwan and recognize Taiwan as a vital part of the U.S. Indo-Pacific strategy. Some proposals raised by Republican legislators were rejected by voice votes. So see, this is a bill only, and they are voting, and some people did not vote yes, right? Okay, to some of the amendments, for example, such as allowing Taiwanese officials to display symbols of Taiwan sovereignty. Okay, so this part, some people voted no. Okay, two. All right, and such as which part? Which is displaying symbols of Taiwanese sovereignty, such as the Taiwanese flag or the military 徽章 emblem. Okay, all right. While performing official duties and treating Taiwan as a NATO plus partner. Okay, so these things, these two things were met with objections in the amendments. Okay, these other things did not. The renaming Taiwan, Taiwan's representative office as the Taiwan Representative Office, and also possibly addressing the issue of Taiwanese representation in the UN. Okay. All right. The proposals were rejected due to worries that they might contravene U.S. laws and raise tensions in the Taiwan Strait, but would be reconsidered through recorded votes when the sessions resume on July 12th after a recess. Okay. You know, we have talked about this a lot, and you know, this has something to do with your country, my country, and you know, Taiwan. Okay. So I live in Taiwan. Taiwan is my country too, and so how it, and America is like our best friend. Okay, and it's almost like we talked about this before. It's like, let's say if you're like a little guy, right? Imagine going back to elementary school, and you're like really tiny and small and weak, and then there are two bullies in school. Okay, now if you know, you gotta side with one of the bullies, right? Yes. So, but who are you gonna side with? You're gonna side with the mean one, right? Or the bully who is, you know, a little bit nicer to you, right? Who knows? It's I guess, to put it simply, the analogy I think applies, right? Okay. All right. So yes, should we side with the U.S. bully or the China bully? Because if we don't side with anyone, we're gonna get crushed. All right. We will be doing more questions today. I will see you very soon in class. Thank you for watching.